Welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. I have the confused guru on the line with us right now for this NCAA basketball tournament. That's none other than Coach Van PETTAWAY. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine, Dr. Prince, doing fine. A little confused about these brackets, but other than that, I'm okay.
Yeah, it's a confusing but yet a good thing, Coach. I know everybody's in an uproar about, oh, this has got to be the worst Final Four ever. I don't see it that way. How do you see it?
Well, I don't either. I think what it's doing is just showing parity. It's showing parity in college basketball. It's showing you what experience will do for you. It's showing what the portal can do for you instantaneously. Because when you look at the makeup of these teams, these are veteran teams. You don't have any McDonald All-Americans. You don't have any one-and-done players. You got a group of veteran players on all four teams, and they are headed to Houston.
Coach, and when you brought that up, do you think in all sincerity that there is any one player on either one of these teams that remain that will get drafted?
Okay, right now, some of these kids, their stock has risen, but I don't know if it's gone to the as high as them being in the top 60 in the country. I just think it's showing what determined, hard-working young men can do when they come together as a team.
Yes, sir. Well, for me, and I'm imagining for you as well, as SWAC blood through and through, it has been a bit frustrating for me because I'm looking at these programs and I'm like, why can't that be us? That should be us. Am I the only one thinking along those lines?
Well, no, I think there are a lot of the SWAC coaches that are saying and believing the same thing. That should be us. You're talking about teams that were not seeded very high. I think we got the ninth seed coming in. You got teams that weren't even picked to win their conference that are representing their conferences now in the Final Four. So I just think that with the transfer portal, that gives other programs an opportunity to better themselves. And these teams have done that. And not only, even though you go into the portal, those kids have to believe in you and what you're doing in order for it to work. Because there are plenty of examples of teams out there who went into the portal, but they weren't successful. And it's really because the teams didn't gel. The players didn't mesh. So you gotta have them coming together for one cause.
And another false narrative is a bunch of small schools are being represented in the Final Four. And when you look at it, the biggest brand has the lowest student body in those that remain, and that's Miami, if you're asking me about the larger brand, between Miami, UConn, San Diego State, and, I'm so bad. I put Creighton.
Oh, Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, 33,000. San Diego State, 32,000. University of Connecticut, 32,000. Miami, 19,000. Now, Those are larger institutions than our SWAC institutions, but when you look at the Farley Dickinsons, the Gonzagas, they are not that much ahead. Some of them, I know, in fact, Farley Dickinson and Gonzaga are below Prairie View. Prairie View has 9,400 students. Gonzaga and Farley, 7,000, 8,000 students. What's missing, Coach?
Getting the right combination of players together. Getting the right combination of players together, and them all believing in one objective. That's what's missing in the SWAC. We're not getting the transfers in like we need to that are working together. We're getting some transfers. We're not getting as many, and it's just mind-boggling because if you can have all the talent in the world, but if they don't work together, it's not going to work. The end result, you're not going to get the end result that you're looking for.
Right.
And in these teams' cases, they have bought into the coaches, they bought into the system, and they sacrifice for each other. And that's what we have to have more of in the SWAC.
Well, Coach, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper, and I know people probably get tired of me saying this. They say I sound like a grumpy old man. Get off my lawn. Well, I'm about to say it again. Get off my lawn. When we look at attendance, whatever the reason is, it's like SWAC does not care about basketball. I'm not trying to be harsh, ugly, Coach, but you can only call it as it is, right?
Right. Well, I think they like the fact to be looked at as a football conference. You know, that's been the mantra for all these years. So why change it? So I think that mentality is still there. All of the SWAC schools they look at their football programs as the cream of the crop, and that's where they put their focus. That's where they put their money. That's where all the energy goes into football.
Well, I am a big football advocate. I'm a big sports advocate. Let me just summarize it as that. But we have to be realistic about how we spend the coin that we have limited access to. And if you're talking about the greater return off your investment, and as big as a baseball fan I am, and we've talked about this before, Coach, and I don't want to be beating a dead horse, but you're going to get your greatest return off a solid basketball investment, man.
Right, I agree with you. It's cheaper to invest in basketball than it is football. But for some reason, the powers to be, they don't see it that way.
I thought you was about to drop that Johnny Taylor is cheaper to keep her. But, I don't. Coach, I'm mesmerized. I'm truly mesmerized because we have, of course, your Power Fives, and a Power Five versus a mid-major. There's hope. There's hope in basketball. A mid-major versus a lower major. There's hope in basketball, and dare I say, there's hope in baseball. But there is not a snowball's chance in hell when you go Power Five against mid-major and Power Five, sure enough, against a lower major. It's not going to happen, Coach. It's not going to happen. And why we're stuck on it, is it because we're in the South?
I think so. I think that has a lot to do with it. But you got to remember now, when these conferences and these schools were formed, they were formed because of their football programs. That was at the forefront of them merging, and so they're gonna keep that at the forefront.
Well,
they're gonna keep it at the forefront.
Time brings about a change in everything, right, Coach?
Oh yes.
Okay, there used to be a time where they had a can on both ends with some string to communicate with each other.
Right.
All right, and just like everything else, it evolved, right? So
yes.
So we have to get with it. You look at the blueprint that the Big 12 is trying to reestablish. They know that football is quote unquote king, but they're going in full blast about basketball. They felt like that basketball has been undervalued. And I dare use that same terminology when it comes to our conference. Basketball is way undervalued, and I'm truly frustrated, man. And to be honest with you, Coach, I'm a like I say, a sport guy, but I'm not that huge of a basketball guy. But I like basketball enough to watch it and know that we should be doing better.
Right. Well, I love basketball, and I think you have a valid point. Our administrators have to reevaluate where we are as a conference and where our priorities are when it comes to athletics. Because I think if they take a serious look at the thing, basketball can be a vital part of the success of these universities, and it can be done at a cheaper than football. But they don't want to upset the people who created this conference or these conferences, because they were created with football in mind. So they don't want to upset anything. They feel like, I think some of the administrators feel like that if they prioritize basketball, they're going to lose funding. Well, my question is, what funding do you have now? Are you really getting the funding that you need from the alumni? So I just think that they just got to reevaluate.
And another note to that, how you going to fire somebody when you don't have funding to make them competitive? But that's a whole nother nother ball of wax, Coach. Look, I didn't think I was going to get this frustrated, and I'm trying, as I say, keep my cool. But when you look at the big scope of what we got laid out before us, and I don't know if you can recall, do you recall what your basketball budget was when you were coaching? Coach?
I had right at $680,000.
Okay, $680,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I would almost challenge you that it's probably not that much greater today. And how long you been out of coaching, Coach?
Going on 14 years now.
I would be willing to bet you that some of these basketball budgets are still dangling in that area.
Right. But now I had one of my budget was probably at the time about midway of the conference. It wasn't at the bottom, but it definitely wasn't in the top four either.
And when you look at that, you broke down a formula a couple of weeks ago about, how you could do this thing, playing maybe 5 guaranteed games, then the rest regional games, and then playing some home games that would be worthy of luring people out to come and see your program and improve your overall team record, which it's like grab the money and run. Let's grab the money and run. And I hate to put it in this terminology, but it's like we're prostituting our student athletes for $1.
Right. Well, and that's the exact term that my dear friend Coach Jove used. He said that we prostitute the basketball players, because at the time in the SWAC, basketball was the only sport that was doing that, playing the guarantee games. And then, football started coming around, and some of the programs would play one a year. But they play one game a year versus 13 or 14 when it comes to men's basketball. Big difference.
Yeah, a huge difference. Well, look, I guess I done got my griping out for this week, Coach, and we're going to try to make do of what remains with this Final Four. My condolences to you in the state of Alabama for taking that suffering loss on the chin. But, man, I know you didn't see that one coming, Coach, but Miller disappeared, man. He became the invisible man.
Right. Well, he finally played like a freshman. In fact, all of the freshmen played like freshmen for Alabama. And that's why they're sitting at home.
Well, tell them scoot over, Coach, because there's some games coming up this weekend. And can you even dare reach out to who you think is going to be the last two to meet up for Championship Monday?
Well, right now, UConn is playing better than any of the teams there, but they probably got the tallest task by going up against Miami. And with San Diego and Florida Atlanta, I would pick I think San Diego State and UConn will be meeting in the championship game Monday.
I thought about that as well, but then I said, you know what? Even though I don't have a dog in the race, it would be cool to see Florida Atlantic and Miami battle and do battle for the state of Florida.
Yep.
In Texas. Wouldn't that be something?
Yep.
Wouldn't that be something? So who knows? And and I'm gonna play the opposite hand. Since you said San Diego and UConn, I'll take the Miami schools like I really care. But it'll be something to talk about. Florida Atlantic. People think this is a fluke, but when you look at their body of work, Coach, if I'm not mistaken, they have the winningest record in the tournament of teams that this year that won contests.
Right. They're playing outstanding basketball. They're the only one. Not the only one, but they got over 30 wins. And anytime you can put together 30 wins, you're doing something. So that means that not only did they win during their conference schedule, they won in the preseason too.
Right. And you got people, as we say, they complaining. This is the worst Final Four ever. Well, it wasn't like the top seeds got cheated. They got beat. So they deserve to be sitting in the aisles where we'll be sitting come Saturday and Monday. I like it. I really do like it. But like I said, the frustration came out to when I seen how these other programs got to where they are. And it's going to take commitment from top to bottom, administrators, and I personally, and they might get offended when I say this, I don't think that the athletic directors in our region of conference have full autonomy to be athletic directors, and they're handcuffed, and it limits what they can and can't do, and I think that's part of the problem as well.
I agree. But this is going to be a great weekend in Houston, and I'm looking forward to it. I get a chance to rub elbows with some guys that I see on an annual basis, and I'm just looking forward to the fellowship.
Yes, sir. Well, I tell you what, Coach, that's when you get all your news and tidbits, when you get to hobnob with the folks down there. Maybe when the dust is settled, we'll have something to talk about next week, man.
That's true.
Okay, give us the skinny on the horizons in the world of basketball.
Yeah.
Well, look, Coach, it's always a joy. Confused, and I do apologize for my ranting about my beloved or our beloved conference. But if you want right, you got to expect right, and then ultimately you got to do right. Right. So
we're on the right path.
Okay, Coach, I'm gonna give you some closing thoughts for this week, sir.
Well, I think you and I have hit the nail on the head. I think even our commissioner has said so, that we need to do some changing with our basketball schedules to improve the overall conference appeal for the committee. So I look forward to seeing what the results are going to be, and I want to encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, because they do need to hear the word and the message, and you're getting it out there.
Well, we're going to do our part, sir. That's all we can do. They say when you see a problem, if you don't have a solution, then you're part of the problem.
Yep.
And our goal is to try to, they say, open the eyes, the minds, and the ears of those that would have an ear to hear. With that being said, he is the guru. Coach Van PETTAWAY will be traveling to my beloved stomping grounds. And, you be careful, Coach, and don't recruit no players and bring them back toward Alabama, A&M, because we don't need none of that, Coach. You stay on down there in Bama. And, don't come here sneaking and still, because, they say you can talk a possum out of a tree. Yep. We don't want you to do that talking to none of our guys there, but I want you to have a good time, sir, and we're looking forward to the conversation on next week. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thank you guys so much for joining. Don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We have finally reached over the 400 subscribers, and let me tell you what's so powerful about that. This is basically a radio talk show. And for you guys to subscribe and do what you do and supporting what you do for listening pleasures says a lot. Now, we have plenty on our other podcast platforms, but we're truly thankful that you guys are helping us to grow that YouTube channel. And I promise we're going to have a video or two come in the very near future. But until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.